Bare bald eagle live nest. What that was, but don't worry about it right now. All right. Time for the shave, man. All right, we got 15 minutes, 20 at the most. All right, this is Sports for Real with Coach Hall. See, last night, the Clippers come back and knock off the Nuggets to force a Game 7. I did a little afternoon broadcast talking about James Harden and how he hasn't typically come up positive for his teams in the crunch. And I said that if they were going to make any kind of run or advance in the playoffs, they're going to have Harden come through. Now, given his advancing age, you can't expect Harden to light it up every night. But at the same time, you don't expect him to lay an egg. And he's done that before. But last night, he stepped up to the plate and he played some basketball. Scored 28 points. The sidekick scored 27. And after giving up 20 first half points to Jokic, they put the clamps on him. He only got 26 for the whole game. And they needed to do that to be able to win that game. Now, I also mentioned Jamal Murray and all these other players in the NBA who seem to go up and down with season. And in the season in the NBA, I'm referring to whether you home or away. A lot of these guys, they just don't seem to be able to play when it goes on the road. And last night, Murray, he barely got 20. I think he got 21 after scoring 43 the last game. Because he did not get at least 25, he put his team in peril. I told you before, if he's going to be the number 2 sidekick to Jokic, he needs him to be consistently higher in numbers to take the pressure off Jokic. Because they didn't have that game he had in Game 6, it allowed the Clippers an opportunity to win that game. Sandwich says, Sandwich Pie, how you doing, Sandwich? JC, what's going on, man? Unan Satana, what do you mean what happened? Bro, what happened? I don't know what you're talking about. Sophomore, again, good morning, Sandwich Pie. And I don't want to get into the main topic just yet. I'm trying to wrap up what happened in the NBA last night. But yeah, Harden finally stepped up. So the question is, will he step up again in Game 7? If he's able to get 20-plus points in Game 7, then you know that Harden's probably going to be there as long as the Clippers last. But it's been questions. Is this somebody that you should bet on your side when the game is on the line? Well, he came through last night. Well, speaking of bets, I've been telling you guys I'm trying to play around with these parlays, and most of the time, it's always one thing that does me in, and it's always something that a typical player should get. Like, for instance, last night, Duran for the Pistons, he was slated to get 12-plus rebounds, but he struggled to get 6. And if you had him in a parlay, like I put him down, I had him getting 7 rebounds, and damn if he didn't get 6. He didn't come through. Neither did Karl Anthony Towns, who was supposed to get 20-something points, who only got 10 and then fouled out. Now, I had heard reports that Jalen Brunson was hobbling around, and it was questionable about how he was going to perform. So hearing that, I tried to get slick. So I'm going to bet on him scoring points because I don't think he's going to get there. And I also look at Towns' rebounds, and I said, well, he ain't going to get there because a lot of times his effort is not there. Well, lo and behold, everything was reversed last night. Towns didn't score, but he got double-digit rebounds, and Brunson got 40 points. So I was just wrong all the way around yesterday, and that's just the way it goes. But if somebody has a perfect outlay on how to at least get closer than what I can get on a parlay, let me know. All right. Kameetan Killer Pack. Good night from South Pacific Island, Papua New Guinea. How you doing? I only met a few people from that part of the world, so it's always nice to say hello to somebody that you hadn't had much contact with. This guy says, "Hello, brother Zig." I don't know what that says or what that's supposed to mean. What is that FSD? Explain what your meaning is. I'd like to know what that is. All right. Because this is a sticky topic, I don't usually like to get into somebody else's relationships. I usually have a lot of hell trying to keep my own on track. But the talk lately has been about old Bill Belichick and his relationship with his young girl. Belichick, I think he's 73 now, and his girlfriend Jordan Hudson, she's 24, and people are starting to wonder if she's got too much control in things. She's starting to butt in the interviews and try to control the direction or the narrative of the stories that are taking place about those two. And if you're a football coach, if nothing else, you have to control things. And after being in a lifetime of control, it now looks like he's being controlled. And I know it's a lot of knee-jerk reaction based on the age of the participants, but all his friends are now starting to wonder what's really going on. Barkley spoke on the situation, and he said that he's a close friend of Belichick, and from what he can see from the outside, it might warrant a phone call to Belichick just to see if he's all right, if everything is not being on the up and up. But whatever the case, Jordan Hudson, I think is her name, she's clearly coming up from the situation. From what I understand, she used to be a former cheerleader, and she's in the real estate now, and she's buying up a lot of those expensive properties around Boston. Now, is that something that she garnered for herself, or is it something that Belichick is buying for him? He has to know what's going on. He seems to be in a clear state of mind. So if that's what he wants to do, buy his old lady some properties, and albeit. But at the same time, don't be surprised if you find out in the headlines that they're not together anymore, and you check the portfolio. When she get where she wants to be, then she don't need his ass no more. Then you might find him on the curve, and then everybody's gonna say, "I told you so." But then again, it could be the perfect love story. We don't know. But all I know is if he's in the same mind and he knows exactly what he's doing or think he knows what he's doing, then that's on him. Bless him. But that's all I pretty much ever have to say about that. But the only reason I'm mentioning that because I hear people talking about it. It's supposed to be an interview the other day with CBS and how she was supposed to interject. She interject herself into the situation, and her involvement is now going from a personal aspect seeping into his professional activities, like at North Carolina. So she's basically acting as a unhired employee of the athletic department of North Carolina. And people are concerned about that because it's not supposed to have anything to do with that. But if you're in a relationship, especially a coach, you're going to talk to your significant other about the games and all that, but they can't be in a position where they're making a decision on what's going on, because if that is the case, then what do they need you for? And that's why people last week were talking about North Carolina should fire Belichick because she's got too much influence on what's going on. Again, I don't know. Time will tell what's going on, but I really don't see him slipping to the point where he starts to let her control such things. Now, I don't think he's going to be at North Carolina long anyway. He took that job primarily to set up his son, to make sure his son have a good opportunity. And I think after a year or two, that's exactly what's going to happen. So if North Carolina did fire him, I don't think he would really care, except it's another stain on his reputation. So that's why I asked the question: do you think Belichick is embarrassing himself? A lot of older guys tend to go after the younger females, but it's never this kind of an age gap. You might find a guy that's 45 and he might be dating somebody 29, but 30, 40-year difference, no. That's too one-sided. And like the old fellas used to say years ago, if you got somebody that young, somebody helping him out. So the question is helping out. And I know they got some strong medication out there, but got it that strong. So time will tell on that. But that's all I can say about that. But I just hope that she's not having an influence on what's taking place with the football program. All that personal stuff, I don't care what he do with her, but keep out of the professional aspect, and that's the way things should be. But tonight we're going to get Game 6 of the Warriors and the Rockets. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this series should be over. But for some reason that doesn't make sense to me, the Warriors decided to sit a lot of their players for long times in Game 6. Ain't saving his players. Well, if you have a 3-1 lead on somebody, I think it would be wise if you go on and try to win the series instead of sitting people down. You're giving Houston an opportunity to regroup and come back and steal a series. So it really comes down to one game series. If the Rockets win tonight, they're in prime position to come back in the whole series. When you had your foot on their neck, you decided to let it off. And because of that, you give this team new life. You can't do that. Now, what I understand, they're doing that to rest up because some of the players are beat up, and they're saying that the Rockets are intentionally trying to hack Curry on his hands. They've been doing that for years. And my thing is, being that Minnesota won their game the other night, if they had won Game 6, that means they would have had about 4 days to rest. But now, throwing the game, you put yourself into a Game 6 situation. Houston's going to give you everything they got. They got a pretty good coach in Udoka. And it's a real chance that the Rockets could win this game. I don't think they will, but if they do, that's going to push Golden State to a Game 7, which is going to give them more games to play than they would have had and less rest time if they had just won Game 6. Now, could they have won Game 6? Absolutely. The Rockets weren't playing that great. They had the reserves in for Golden State most of the second half, and they were down by 30, and all of a sudden they started coming back, got all the way down to 11, and then they showed you why they're backups. They started missing point-blank layups, and their frustration in missing those layups caused them to throw the Rockets guy pretty much off the court into the stands underneath the basket, and that led to a technical foul, and that allowed Houston to stretch the lead back out. But if they had made one of those layups, they would have cut it under 10. Steve Kerr was about to put his starters in there to try to win that game. But my thing is, why didn't you try to win the damn game the first time? Isn't that what professional sports are all about? To win the game? So it'll be interesting to see how this game goes tonight. If they get knocked off and they go to Game 7 and lose, hell, they deserve to lose because you allowed that opportunity to exist. All right. Michael Barron says, that's what girls do. Well, here's the deal. I'm not gossiping about anything, Mr. Barron. I am talking about what's in the news. I also clearly stated that I don't give a damn about the relationship. I am talking about the professional aspect dealing with sports. That's what this show is about, sports, not gossiping. I don't give a damn about his relationship. He can do what he want to do. He can give all the money. I don't give a damn. It don't affect me one way or the other. But if he's stupid enough to let her run his business affairs, then that's something worthy of talking about in the sports world, and that's what I'm doing. So you can take it how you want it from there. All right, JC, that's a crazy relationship. She's young enough to be his granddaughter. Yeah, If he's happy, fine. It's not unusual for older guys to be messing with these young girls, but you get what you get out of that. CJ, what's up? What's up, homie? This guy Michael Barron, it's always somebody that's got something slick to say. You probably only heard part of what I said, and then you want to make a comment on it. But yet he sees a topic and he chimes in because I've never seen him before. Now all of a sudden he got something to say to me. So whatever. But like I say, Golden State, they put themselves in a position where they might have to go 7. And if they have to go 7 and win that game, then they're going to have about 2 days to get ready for Minnesota. So that put them in a far worse position than they would have had if they just would have had won Game 6. I think they still probably were going to win Game 6 at home, but it's not guaranteed. And I often wonder if the NBA stepped in and probably tell them to throw that game because, they got all these time slots and they want to try to fill them up with many playoff games as possible. And you've seen plenty of series over the years where one team was dominant and they inexplicably lose a game. That's primarily to keep the TV ratings going. You know who the best team is, and they're going to win no matter what in the end. But I think the league has some influence on how these games, how these series unfold on a timely basis. So keep an eye on that. That'd be the only game tonight. Pretty much all the other series are done except for the Clippers and the Nuggets, who went to force the Game 7 last night. They'll play Game 7 tomorrow, and I believe Cleveland and Indiana start tomorrow also. So that'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. All right. JC said Green needs to show up tonight and score big for Houston to win. Yeah, he does, but I don't think Green has the ability to score big. I mean, the time he did score those 38 points, that was at home. And if you've been following the NBA for years, these guys are completely different on the road than they are at home. And Green, he's been struggling the last couple of weeks coming into the playoffs, and he continued that into the playoffs. He only had that one game where he got 38 points. Now, last game he had like 17, but again, Golden State sat most of their starters majority of the second half, so he was able to score a little bit more then. The guy that needs to really keep the Rockets in, who's playing pretty well lately, especially from 3, is Van Vliet. If Van Vliet somehow is not hitting his shots and you have to depend on Green, it's going to be a long night for the Rockets. But I think the Rockets are in trouble either way. Even if they are to come back from 3-1, that means they're going to run into Minnesota. And I saw Minnesota and Houston go at it, and that's a tailor-made matchup for Anthony Edwards because he gets off when people talk trash to him. And Houston is a type of team that talks a lot of trash. They were talking trash to Jimmy Butler the other night when he was struggling, and it got him going. And that was a difference in the game. If they just let the guy go on about his business and continue to struggle, then they would have stole Game 4, I believe it was. And that's just not their nature. They're going to keep talking trash, and it will fit right into the hands of Anthony Edwards. So I think the Rockets just got a tough road to go, and I don't think they're going to get there. And I think it's going to end tonight in Golden State. But you're right, JC Green, he has to step up. These guys are making these NBA huge checks, but they have NCAA performance. They ain't got time for all that. But anyway, I got to get up out of here, man. You got some stuff going on, so I got to go see what's going on. All right, so let me check the poll results here. 67% of you saying that Belichick is embarrassing himself. I think that I make one last comment on that. I think that kind of relationship needs to be out of the limelight. Date who you want, but keep that behind closed doors because that's going to open you up for scrutiny. And then when she gets out of pocket, like apparently she is, then that creates problems for him, and he's going to have to fix that. So, wow, boy, how you doing, man? Will you be on this weekend? Yeah, I get up Saturday morning, and then there's a block party one of my relatives is throwing, and I'm thinking about setting up on that particular evening. I had to be careful because there's no control over that, and I had to find a spot where I can broadcast without showing everything. But that's going to be a pretty lively environment, and it would be great to broadcast. But I don't really know if I should do that or not. But we'll see. But definitely Saturday and Sunday morning we'll come back and we'll wrap. I'm not sure about this afternoon, but if I do get a chance to come on, it'll be somewhere around 5:30, 6 o'clock like I did yesterday. But I appreciate you checking me out, JC. Wild Boy, hope you're doing well as well. I got to go out here and do some extra duties here. So I appreciate you guys checking in with me. All you new people like and subscribe, and I keep throwing content at you as I get it, and try to keep it as fresh. And I'm getting ready to update. So keep an eye out for that also. So in the meantime, wherever you are in the world, have a great day. Meantime, I got to go work, man. So I'm out. Peace. Check this poll one more time. Yep. Belichick, 60% of you saying he's embarrassing himself. I agree. All right. Have a great day.